Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. That's Emory Hunt, the Zarda Playbook, and I'm Tyler Merkovich, and we're bringing you our 2010 SEC preview. Let's start out with the East. The Florida Gators, 13-1. They crushed Cincinnati in the Sugar Bowl. Urban Meyer enters his sixth year, and John Brantley is the head at quarterback. This is the story in the swamp, and this gives them a new look because they were a little stale, and opponents saw what they were going to do last year, and they really relied on Tebow smashing it. So Jeff Demps, running back Chris Rainey, Deontay Thompson, wide receiver, and three big linemen, Mike Pouncey, second-team All-American, and that left side is strong with Xavier Nixon and Carl Johnson.
Yeah, they moved some offensive linemen around, so I'm interested to see how this reshuffled offensive line will react and handle with Brantley back there, because he's going to be a stationary target. Tebow, you have to really protect for longer because he was a scrambler. Also, you look at their running back depth, they have a very solid group of running backs this year. It's been a long time since we've been able to say that for Florida. So expect also to see a lot of I formation this year too, which is impressive because you have some I backs back there. It's going to utilize that speed and quickness of the whole. And also, I think Brantley would do just fine at quarterback. Outstanding talent, one of the top quarterbacks coming out of the country when he came out of high school. So they're going to be fine at quarterback.
He's very versatile on offense, and Brantley is going to, by midseason, be one of the top quarterbacks in the country. Well, defense, they lose Charlie Strong, defensive coordinator, and they were great at stopping the run the last 3 years, 3.4 yards per carry or less. I love their secondary. I love this guy, Ahmad Black. I think he's the most underrated player in the country at strong safety. He's going to join Will Hill, who's up and coming at free safety. Janoris Jenkins is for real. Defensive end Justin Trato finally gets a start. Omar Hunter, 13 freshman All-American. And Jelani Jenkins, the redshirt freshman, very highly touted at linebacker. New defense coordinator is Terrell Austin. He was formerly of the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, a lot of questions and concerns await this defense. They lost a lot of key players. Got a new coordinator coming in. So a lot of questions have to be answered for Florida's defense. Also, I love their secondary. Extremely talented secondary. Expect safety Will Hill this year to make a tremendous leap to be that playmaker that they expected when he got him out of Jersey City, New Jersey. So expect him to take a huge jump this year. And also keep an eye on freshman defensive end Ronald Powell, 6'4", 250. Guy's going to come in and provide pressure off the end.
Georgia enters with head coach Mark Richt in his 10th year. Last year they were 8-5, but they won 4 of their last 5 games, including the Independence Bowl. They crushed Texas A&M. Aaron Murray will be their quarterback this year. Running backs with Sean Ely. They took the red shirt off of him last year. He's a sophomore, and Caleb King form a great backfield behind Clint Bowling and Ben Jones, 2 SEC All-Performers, and all returning starters on the offensive line. Only allowed 12 sacks, but their wide receivers are good also. A.J. Green, can't say enough about him. Tavares King, the smaller target, and Marlon Brown. And look out for tight end Orson Charles, who's an up-and-coming sophomore.
Yeah, I look at Aaron Murray. He's going to play with gloves on this year, so he's going to rock the gloves this year as a quarterback. But can he respect the football, as Mark Richt like to put it? No turnovers. A lot of turnovers in the spring. No fumbles. Respect the football, and Georgia should be fine on offense because you look at that talented duo of Caleb King and with Sean Ely, those two outstanding running backs. Ely is going to be a man this year, so keep an eye on him. And they have the best offensive line in the SEC, veteran group, top to bottom. And also we keep saying, watch out for the depth of Georgia's offensive line. So that's going to be fire to watch these guys come off the ball this year. A lot of talent. Between hedges.
Gloves or no gloves, it's any way to get it done. People's hands expire, and those gloves are serious nowadays, the way they make them. But defensively, they got shredded last year. They got rid of their defensive coordinator. They bring in Todd Grantham, who was a defensive line coach for the Cowboys. He's going to change a 4-3 system to a 3-4. Brandon Boykin, the cornerback, is up and coming. Free safety Bakari Rambo. They only allowed 23 TD passes. Justin Houston moves from DN to linebacker. 7.5 sacks, 7.5 tackles for loss. And they have Darryl Gamble, Akeem Dent, Marcus Downwin, Cornelius Washington, and the list goes on at linebacker.
Yeah, moving it to 3-4 puts more athletes on the field, so you want to keep an eye on linebacker. Justin Houston, as you mentioned, he's a talented playmaker. Moving to that 3-4 outside linebacker, going to provide pressure up the middle. Nose tackle is also important, so keep an eye also on D'Angelo Tyson, the guy at 6'2", 294. He's going to have to be that big nose guard. They don't have the guys up front right now for 3-4, but they do have a lot of athleticism, and that's going to put more athletes on the field, like I mentioned. Thus, you'll see an aggressive Georgia defense this year.
And there's a new regime in the Bluegrass State, and we're not talking about their basketball team, but it's the football team with Joker Phillips entering his first year after a 2-year wait. Quarterback Morgan Newton saw a lot of time last year. Derek Locke was a second-team All-SEC, and Randall Cobb was a dual wide receiver. He even took snaps out of the Wildcat formation. He's a former quarterback, 14 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards receiving. Stuart Harns, their left guard. He's the only returning starter on that offensive line, which could be an issue.
Yeah, the O-line has to raise the level of play this year because they do have some talented playmakers in Cobb, as well as Locke, a tremendous tailback in the backfield. So O-line has to step up and play big. And I think Morgan Newton will probably start. I like him still as a starter. He just has to take more shots down the field, and that way teams won't load up to stop the run and put them in a disadvantage. So he takes more shots deep down the field. It's going to help out Kentucky's offense tremendously.
Well, their secondary last year on defense and their rush ability was great because it was 177 yards per game they're giving up through the air. That's not too much. And they held their opponent's quarterbacks to under 50% with the efficiency rating. But they got gashed against the run, 183 rush yards per game they've given up. So defensive ends Quinn Evans really needs to get that defensive line together. And linebacker Danny Trevathan needs to get that linebacker, and they really need to stop the run, especially in the SEC.
Yeah, you have to stop the run. You look at, they were ranked 100 last year in stopping the run. That has to improve. They lost a lot of leadership, a lot of talent on defense, but there are some key pieces left. There are some talent, but they just have to get all together and play a lot this year. And you also want to keep an eye on cornerback Randall Burton and safety Winston Guy are two standouts in the secondary. So if that front seven can get pressure, those two guys I know are going to make plays back there because Guy has the look of a future NFL star.
South Carolina coming off a 7-6 year. Steve Spurrier has a good team with young talent back, but they always fade down the stretch. The last 3 years, they're 3-12 combined in their final 5 games. Steven Garcia now in his 3rd year starting as a junior. They bring in Marcus Lattimore, their true freshman at running back. They have Kenny Miles and a couple sophomores to back them up, so that's a big depth-wise at running back. Wide receiver Alshon Jeffries really coming together, and 3 slated to start that are 6'4" and taller, so a lot of big targets for him. 34 sacks in the regular season allowed for the 4 returning offensive linemen, so they need to get it together and keep Garcia clean, give him some time to throw it up to those tall targets.
Yeah, the O-line is the biggest question mark on that offense right now. They're a huge question mark. They have to get it together and figure out what they want to do as a unit. Also, you look at the depth at running back. True freshman Marcus Lattimore is going to be outstanding. You mentioned Miles, and also Jarvis Giles, who kind of fell out of favor, but he is a little jitterbug, 5'10", 188, with some speed and quickness to make people miss. And those wide receivers are talented. They're big, like you mentioned, but tight end Wesley Saunders is a solid playmaker and is going to be a future NFL star.
And on defense, the defensive line led by 2 serious seniors, defensive end Cliff Matthews and Lady Ajaboy. Linebacker Shaq Wilson was their leading tackler last year. Their secondary played well last year, and they're going to give up the reins to Stephon Gilmore, freshman All-American at corner. He's a sophomore now. And Chris Culliver, the other corner, who's a second-team All-SEC performer.
Well, you look at their linebackers, Rodney Polk is returning back from an ACL injury, so he's going to be a star. He's a solid contributor. He's going to be outstanding in that defense. So you also want to keep an eye on JUCO linebacker Takaris Gilchrist, a guy that they bring it in is going to play tremendously, play a lot as a transfer, because when you get a JUCO transfer, you expect him to come in and play right away. You mentioned Gilmore, outstanding cornerback, and also you want to keep an eye on defensive end 6'8" Devin Taylor. Can he bring it on the opposite end of Matthews? That's going to be key for the defense to get pressure on the quarterback.